Thank you for giving us the opportunity to raise this very important topic on the floor of the House here today. Minister, last week's announcement of 16 new second-level schools by your department was met with real disappointment in Kildare South. An Educate Together campaign, Kilcullen, as you'll be all too well aware, has highlighted concerns over future capacity at second level in Kildare South. Over the last 4 years they've campaigned on that. There obviously is a belief in your department that proposed extensions and a new build at St Paul's and Monasterevin will suffice in addressing that increased demand. Many people in South Kildare will disagree with your department on that. What nobody disagrees on, whether it's in the department or in Kildare, is that there will be future demand in Kildare. It's just how much it will be, where exactly it will be, and what needs to be done to meet it is where the disagreement comes down. So it's a matter that we move now quickly. And following last week's announcement, what the focus has to be on now is the proposed extensions that were proposed, that they're moved expedited as quickly as possible, as well as the new bill for St Paul's and Monasterevin that has been delayed for far too long. Because only then will we really be able to prove whether or not that really meets the need, and that we can continue to push, as I would hope, down the line for a new school in time. A new school building for St Paul's and Monasterevin is even more critical now than it was this time last week. We spent hours with your officials in the Education Committee yesterday, where we went through this and we heard a litany of the history of the case, which I've highlighted with you on previous engagements, both the present conditions that students and staff have to endure, but also the history from the explosion to 2000 when prefabs came in, to the 2005 building list, to the fact that the Department and Kildare County Council worked together on sorting a site that really hit an awful lot of problems, and site selection is something that has to be reviewed here on this. At present in St Paul's, they're profiled by your department to start construction in Q3 2019. The design team for St Paul's are confident that they can get this ready for construction by Q1 2019, a good 6 months earlier, and 6 months is an awful long time when you're looking at the school year. So your officials did say they wouldn't delay us on that, and I need you to ensure that every effort is made to make sure that we get closer to that, the start of next year for construction rather than the back end of next year, and that no delays are met, and that the present submission submitted by the design team last week is turned around by the department by the end of this month if possible. I know normally it takes 8 to 12 weeks, but priority has to be put on St Paul's and on the delivery of the extensions in Crossandpatch and Kilcullen, the Athy Community College, Patricians in Newbridge, as well as the 500 spaces for St Conleth's that are being constructed at present.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Well, thanks very much indeed. I'd like to thank both deputies for raising this issue, and I can understand their concerns. Firstly, I'd like to assure Deputy O'Loughlin that decisions on where schools should locate is not a political issue. It's not a political decision. It's not made by ministers. It's made by the department, and they treat every one of the 314 planning areas in the same fashion, and they evaluate them fairly against demographic profiles that they have based on existing child benefit payments, school enrolments, and local authority plans for housing development in the area. So it's based on the best available information that is available to them, and every area is treated equally. In respect of this question, there are 5 schools that have projects on the planning, on the department's planning plan for the next 6 years, and that is really the background to the assessment of needs that has occurred here. I can understand the Deputy's concern about St Paul's in Monasterevin, and indeed I know, Kilcullen, that you share those concerns. It has been on the 6-year programme. It is currently at stage 2B, the detailed design stage, where the planning applications, the fire search, the disability access search and so on was provided. The schools submitted their completed stage 2B report by the design team on the 10th of April of this month. And it's envisaged, as Heydon raised, that the review will be completed by the end of April. In February, the department wrote to the school and the design team to give them an outline of the projected time frame, because they were acutely aware of the concern that this should be subject to no delay. And they outlined the elements: the pre-qualification taking 8 to 12 weeks, the steps required to ensure the school will be a near zero energy building, which is a requirement, then the progression to tender stage. A tender stage normally takes between 7 and 8 months, and they have projected a commencement of construction in the third quarter of 2019. As Deputy Heydon asked, the Department indicated, and I can confirm, that if the design team can deliver the project to proceed to construction at an early time frame, the Department will reprofile accordingly. In terms of the site, the Department is in the process of acquiring a site at Moore Abbey, Monasterevin. Agreement in principle was achieved some time back in April 2013, but the vendor insisted that full planning permission be obtained prior to the sale being completed, and that full planning permission was secured in July 2017. The current state of play is that the Chief State Solicitor's Office is working with the legal representative of the landowners with a view to concluding the conveyance. The Department is absolutely committed to the completion of that school. The other projects, St Conleth's in Newbridge, it is currently on site and intake is due for September 2018. The Athy Community College, that again is a devolved project to Kildare Wicklow ETB, and the delivery of that building project will increase the capacity at the school by 600 pupils, with a long-term projected enrolment of 1,000. The Cross and Passion Secondary School, I think that's Kilcullen, it's progressing. A technical site visit has been undertaken at that site. The delivery of this project will increase the capacity at the school by 200 pupil places, and it's at project brief stage. The Patrician College in Newbridge, it also is at project brief stage, and a site visit to the school has been undertaken. The Department will be in contact with that school in regard to that, and the project, when completed, will provide capacity for approximately 900 students. So it's against the background of that, I understand the Department has assessed that 1,700 additional school places are planned to be delivered in the schools that have been set out there. They also anticipate some growth in the Kildare town planning area, but they anticipate that that level of demand there can be met by way of extending the capacity of existing provision. Now, obviously, these assessments are kept under continuous review by the planning section of my department, but that is the basis on which the decision was made by the department, and obviously, you know, the data on which they made that decision is objective and assembled from independent sources.
I'd like to thank the Minister for his response, and particularly welcome the fact that you know, if the design team for St Paul's can deliver the school quicker, that the department will roll with that, and that is really, really important, and particularly confirmation around getting back to the school by the end of April on their latest submission on the design is absolutely crucial too. Minister, the matter of choice is a very important one here as well. People want increased choice of education provision in the South Kildare area, and that's predominantly what was behind the Educate Together campaign. I know there has been discussions between Educate Together nationally and St Conleth's in Newbridge. I would ask that the department would, you know, look at that, because there are people who want increased provision of choice in the South Kildare area, as well as the fact that I welcome the fact that Brannockstown Primary School, that has closed, and it's something I've been involved with the Save the School committee there, is now the patron is divesting there, and an opportunity for more choice in provision at primary level there in Brannockstown is a very real possibility for the broader community there. But in Kildare South, we have seen a massive increase of our population in the last couple of decades. That's increased by over 100,000. We see government's policy of rebuilding Ireland really taking a hold with the building sites that are opening up, and the much increase in planning permissions that are being granted, and that's going to lead to further demographic pressures. So we disagree with your department's decision last week not to grant a new school for Kildare South, but we will absolutely hold your department to ensure the ongoing analysis that you talk about is there, to make sure that if the proposed extensions that now need to be delivered as soon as possible for Patricians in Newbridge, for St Conleth's in Newbridge, for Cross and Passion in Kilcullen, and for Athy Community College, that they have to be delivered as soon as possible, each of which would provide additional ASD classes that are so badly needed for that area, but that even at that, an open mind will be kept to a new school down the line, which I believe in time will be needed.
Minister, now to conclude.
Yeah, I can understand the Deputy's frustration. You know, roughly 30 planning areas were out of 314 were approved for new schools. In other cases, they have been met by, the need is being met by either programmes already underway, as in the case here where there's 5 schools already underway, or in other cases by potential expansion of existing schools. But Deputy Fiona O'Loughlin is the chairman of the committee and has had access to the officials who advise me on these matters, and I think they have made themselves available to assure her of how they are applying these rules. People can criticise the rules, certainly, and when they come out unfavourable to someone, I can understand why people put them under scrutiny. But they are applied even-handedly across all areas and fairly done. In respect of ASD units, as Deputy Martin Heydon has said, we do of course factor additional ASD units into our school programmes, and they are being factored into these plans. So we have, over the last number of years, more than doubled the ASD units at second level. They are growing faster than the ASD units at primary level, and that reflects success in that we are seeing students continue on at the second level. But I can assure the deputies that I regard education provision in South Kildare as of extreme importance, and I will seek constant update from my department on the progress, particularly of the St Paul's School in Monasterevin.
Thank you very much, Minister. That concludes our topical issues for today. Messages from Select Committee. The Select Committee on Justice and Equality has completed its consideration